Alright, so I just wanted to make this quick tutorial to show how to do the floating point clip into Hag 1 for any percent. I mainly wanted to do this to show that the trick is not nearly as hard as it looks, and also that setting it up is both not as kind of grueling and time consuming as people like myself made it out to be, and also that it's accessible and not locked behind having an EverDrive or the practice ROM, which isn't even available at the time of me making this video. So I want to give a huge shout out to Ringrush, whose video I'm going to link in the description of this. He found some visual cues to help us kind of set up the visual cues that we use when actually executing the trick. What we do is we currently allow runners to draw using text fields on their streaming software. So if you look at my actual layout for runs, you can see I have two sets of vertical bars. The red ones represent facing angles -29 and +29, and the orange ones represent -35 and +35 degrees. So I'm going to show you how to both set those up and then how to actually execute the trick. So the first thing we're going to do, and I'm going to assume you have the top cauldron keep warp tagged, so like you run through the route and you've gotten to the part where you need to do this trick. Because having the warp will help us set these bars up a lot quicker. The warps basically act as kind of a big neutral reset for Banjo. He goes to the same position, same facing angle, every single time, same camera, all of it, so it's one big reset. So we're going to use this, and then we're going to look at this little bottom platform of the tower. I like to line up to where the bottom of the reticle is along the kind of pink goo, pretty much exactly how I have it, and then the bottom arrow is coming up into the little black bar there. So the first bars that we're going to set up are the 29-degree bars. So I'm going to do -29 first, so we're going to come out to the left here. And what we're going to do is we're going to make it so that right here. So you can see that the bottom arrow is kind of along the left side of this black bar. So if you go one too far, you can see that we're not touching that black bar at all. And if you don't go far enough, you can see we're on the right side of it. So this is -29. So what I'm going to do, and this is one of the harder bars to set up, is I'm holding this with one hand. Oh, another thing I wanted to point out is if your streaming software allows it, disable source snapping if you can. Because we're going to be using so many text fields and they're going to be kind of close to each other, sometimes OBS will try to snap them into certain places, and we don't want to do that because we need these to be really close together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a text field. I like to label these kind of which bar is which, so this is going to be our -29 degrees, so we can just call it 29L because it's the left one. And for my version of OBS Studio, the default font of sans serif, if you type a lowercase l, it's just a vertical bar. And so that's what we're going to be using as our visual cue. And what I like to do is like to place it right about there, to where the very outside edge of the reticle is touching against the right side of the bar. So this is how I'll know that I have my reticle at -29 degrees. And so kind of a cheeky way we can set to +29 degrees is if we neutral reset our joystick by holding L, R, and start, like that. My hands are completely off the joystick, and my reticle is now at +29 degrees. And you can kind of see the same thing where we're on the right side of that little black bar. If we go one too far to the left, then we'll be on the left side. If we go a tick too far to the right, we'll be outside of the black bar. So what I can do now is duplicate this bar, and we can call it, 29R, because it's the right one, and we'll just drag it over. And then kind of the same thing here, I like to overlap with the first pixel of the reticle here. And those are our bars for 29 degrees. So now we can neutral reset our sticks again. So 35-1 is a little trickier to find. Oops, I'm going way too far. So what I like to look for here, so this is going to be negative 35. What I like to check is that the top of the black bar that the right side of my reticle is over is completely covered. So if I don't go far enough, you can see that the top is completely exposed. If I go too far, one, you can see that it's kind of starting to creep out. So this is what I'm looking for minus 35. And I'm actually going to double check this one against the angles I actually have, because this one's a lot trickier to find. So that is, yeah, this is minus 35. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to duplicate our existing bar for 29. And then we're going to line it up with the left edge of the reticle. And then we're going to do the same thing where we reset our joystick to neutral. And this is going to be positive 35. Is that right? Yeah, it is. Double check on that. Yep, looks good. And so we're going to duplicate one last bar. Line it up against the reticle. I'll move it in one more just for preference. Again, you can do these however you want, just as long as you know what is right. You don't have to do it exactly how I did it. This is just my personal preference for where I place the bars. So now that the bars are set up, now we need to actually execute the trick. So we're going to warp to the top of the tower. Again, it's like one big neutral reset for Banjo. You're resetting everything. You're resetting the camera, where he is, where he's facing. All of it's going to be the exact same every time. So every time you screw this setup up, or you make a mistake, you can just warp to the bottom, warp back to the top, and then try again. So what you're going to do is you're going to do the shortest possible beak barge. So you're going to crouch, tap B, and then immediately let go of C. And that'll beak barge the minimum distance. And now, you're going to go into first person after this, but you don't want to go immediately, because Banjo is still moving even after he's standing completely up for a little bit. I wait in his idle animation. You see how he kind of turns his head to the right? I wait until he's turned completely to the right, then he's pretty much stopped. So now you go into first person, and what you're gonna do, what I like to do here is we're gonna do what's called an angle buffer. So by pressing C down twice really quickly, you'll turn the camera a certain amount each time you do this little buffer. I'll show you what it looks like. So, you know, just any random angle. So you turn the same amount every single time. And this is called angle buffering. So this is what we're gonna do to set up Banjo's facing angle. So I'm gonna go back and reset. So again, we're gonna beak barge, wait for Banjo to look to the right, and then go into first person. So now what we're going to do is we're gonna move over to where our reticle's touching the positive 35-degree bar. We're gonna neutral reset our joystick, because we're gonna do 6 angle buffers here. And if you're feeling ballsy, go for it. I don't want to hold this specific angle for 6 angle buffers. It's pretty hard. So it's just better to reset your neutral joystick, in my opinion. So we're gonna do this 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Reset back to neutral, and then you're gonna do the exact same shortest possible beak barge. Again, wait for Banjo to look to the right, and then you're gonna go into first person. You can do a little confirmation step here. If you look at the left side of Cauldron Keep, you can see that little circle, and then there's that tiny sliver of green. That's your confirmation to know that you did this step right. So the next step we're gonna do is we're gonna look all the way down. Now we're gonna zoom in 3 ticks with the Amazo Gaze goggles. This one has a really easy visual cue. If you look at the right side of Banjo's shadow underneath where it says I have 8 jiggies, if you zoom in 3 times, that entire part goes away. So that's going to be your visual cue for zooming in 3 stages. So I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to go to minus 29 degrees, and I'm going to neutral reset my joystick. And so now you're going to do 1 angle buffer. You're going to zoom all the way out, and then you're going to do another angle buffer. reset back to neutral, and go into third person. So now we're going to do what's called a Peck Cancel. By pressing B and start at pretty much the same time. I believe they do need to be one frame succession, but you can press them at the same time, and you'll usually get it. Banjo will advance just ever so slightly because you'll cancel his pecking animation with a jump. So what I mean by this, if we press B and start at the same time, I missed it. So you see how Kazooie's poking out of the backpack? This is the first frame of the peck animation. So by holding A coming out of the pause, you'll do a jump and cancel the standing attack and move Banjo exactly as forward as he needs to go. So that's a Peck Cancel. So you're going to do that once. And you go back into first person, look all the way down. So now what we're going to do is zoom in 5 stages. This one's a little harder to see. You kind of have to just feel it out. So you know that 3 is when that shadow's gone. So now I like to look. It's going to be really hard to show without having a mouse. So you see the little indentation between where Banjo's feet are? I look towards the right corner of that. So you can see those kind of little humps. I like to call them stairs in Banjo's shadow. So at 4 ticks you can see that a new stair is forming at the bottom right corner. And at 5 ticks the stair is pretty much fully formed. So that's kind of the cue I look for to know I'm zoomed in 5 steps. So now what you're going to do is go to -35, reset your joystick to neutral to actually turn it +35, and you're going to do 2 angle buffers. So 1, 2. Zoom out 1 stage. The cue I like is that you can see the little vertex on the right side of Banjo's shadow again. This way you'll know you're at 4 with this angle. You're going to do 1 more angle buffer. Reset to neutral. So now you're going to do a Peck Cancel, but this one will be different. When you get the B in the pause input, you can see that my shadow's gone. So that means you did the setup right. So if I jump here, I clip through. So that's how you know you're getting the setup right. So that's the easy part of the trick. The actual hard part is getting the flutter into the loading zone. So I'm going to try to show this off once on this file, and if not, I have my current PB pulled up and I'll kind of just walk through what it looks like. So this is kind of a 2-speed, it's kind of a 2-speed execution of this. So you're going to Beak Barge forward, wait for him to look right. You're going to go to +35 degrees and then reset your joystick to be -35. Do 6 angle buffers. Reset back to neutral, Beak Barge forward as short as you can, wait for Banjo to look right. Zoom in 3 stages, go to -29, angle reset to +29. 1 angle buffer, zoom all the way out, 1 angle buffer. Do a Peck Cancel. Zoom back in, look all the way down. You're going to zoom in 5 stages. Go to -35, neutral reset to +35, 2 angle buffers, zoom out 1 stage, 1 more angle buffer, and Peck Cancel. So what we need to do here is you're going to clip through. So when you saw me fall all the way down, you saw Banjo kind of get stuck. There's a point where he gets stuck where you can flutter under the floor and get into the loading zone. So there's a couple different frames to look out for. There's one frame where kind of half of Banjo's body is above the ground and half of it's below ground. That's one frame early. So we're going to try to pause on the exact frame to be able to do this trick. It is a frame perfect trick. If you're one frame early and you pause, you might be able to get the flap unbuffered, but it's a lot harder, but it is worth going for. The frame we're looking for is where Banjo's body is completely obscured by the floor, but you can see his backpack poking out. And that way you'll know you got it. If you're too late, everything will be under the ground and you just need to ground pound and die and try again. So I'm going to go for this once to see if I can show what it's like, and if not, I've got a video pulled up as backup. So I'm late. So what I do here is I just ground pound and die. And try again. So I'm going to pull up a video This is my current PB. So this is me getting it. So you're gonna see me jump. And I pause. This is where I pause. So you can see Banjo's backpack is just barely poking out. This is the frame you're looking for to pause on. Depending on the height of your jump, more of his backpack will be showing, but as long as any of his backpack is showing, you're going to be okay. So what I do here is once I have the right frame, I hold up an A to get a flutter kind of into the wall, and then from there you can just navigate into the loading zone. So I'll show that one more time. It's a little tricky to just kind of describe through a video. It's really unreliable to kind of do a full tutorial for this trick. It is really difficult to kind of pull off. So there's the Peck Cancel. You see his shadow's gone. There's the pause. You can see his backpack, so you know you're good to clip in. And then you're just doing the navigation. And that is the floating point clip into Hag 1. Hopefully this video helps some people who maybe were kind of concerned about even just setting up the lines, not necessarily the execution. Maybe those people who think, you know, the trick's too hard. It really isn't. It's no harder than something like floor 4 early that people do a lot in bingos, or in No DCW when you're doing Ice Train with Chili Willy shooting the ice ball. It's the same window. You have one frame. So hopefully this helps a lot of people out. You know, let me know if this helped you.